It's time now for County-Wide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join Paul David and Brad Miller as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives here in Yavapai County. And now, here's today's County-Wide.
Well, good day and welcome to the program. Excuse me, Brad Miller with you. It is County-Wide, and we're happy to welcome into studio today a first-time guest with us. Andrea Baldwin is new to our program, but not new to the community, and she has begun, with a lot of help from a lot of good folks, a new program, Connections Equine Therapy. Is it equine or equine?
Equine.
Equine therapy in Cornville, a very interesting program. You have something that you call Downrange, and this is about helping veterans, returning fighting men and women, kind of reintegrate back into our community. And we're going to talk with Andrea a little bit about that today. So first we say hello and good morning.
Good morning.
Good to have you
Glad
here.
to be here.
Did I get that right so far? Is that what the program is about?
You're right on track. I think what we're looking at is, obviously we hear a lot today about post-traumatic stress issues.
Right.
And the devastation that it creates, and yet not all veterans suffer from post-traumatic stress. There's a very difficult part of life called reintegration into civilian life, families that have been separated. These veterans have had more tours of duty than any veterans before, is my understanding. Mm-hmm. So going from the military life, the close-knit life, the in and out of country, it's a big challenge.
For anyone, regardless of if there's been some issues that
right,
kind of bring it
right.
home with them. Yeah.
And I think the focus of this program is about the amazing skills that were required in the military to, whether it's be effective communicators, work together as teams, these all translate back into civilian life.
Sure. And
helping our veterans understand and find new directions in their life. That's kind of why our lead-in line is an equine-assisted program helping vets turn military savvy into civilian action. I hope that we can help them see that that's not over. We're just opening a new chapter here and identify, wow, that's not the past. Now, how do I turn that into my future?
And the mechanism that you have chosen to do that comes on 4 legs.
It comes on 4 legs, 1,200 pounds, with all kinds of attitudes.
Yeah. I've got to tell our listeners, I don't mean to embarrass you, but Andrea walked in and I said, now here's a horse lady. You can't see it on the TV or hear it on the radio, but she's got the jeans and the boots, and I said, this is a lady who knows what she's talking about. And I want to ask you about that. Most folks that I know that are very convicted to horses and kind of live that lifestyle have been so from an early age. Tell me just a tiny bit about yourself and how you ended up becoming involved with Downrange and starting this program.
And the Connections program. It wasn't a choice. Somehow I was told that I was born with this absolute obsession.
Yeah.
And I'll just have to share with you briefly that it was pretty bizarre because my mother's mother was killed by a team of runaway horses.
Wow.
So you can imagine the support I got to be involved with horses, but eventually it happened, and I've not had horses since I was 9, either as a career or a hobby.
Right.
And if there'd been a 12-step program for horses, there's times in my life I would go because I've had up to 60.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So it's kind of a passion/addiction that has pretty much directed my life, and I'm very grateful to have found. I am the founder of this program.
Right.
Had an idea, and amazingly, people went along with it.
And all of what you just said informs something that I think is very important to Connections and to the Downrange element of that, and that is, given that experience that you just described, it'd be hard pressed, it seems like, to find someone who would have a better sense of the kind of therapeutic result that these big animals can bring to someone. I guess, and I don't know, but I think kind of the calming effect and the just, you know, and that's why you know, your own experience is what it seems to me drove you to think horses can help people reconnect, reintegrate, as you said,
Right.
back into their world.
Well, they have a culture. So studying kind of their culture, it evokes, this is a lot of metaphoric learning. You know, what's leadership in the horse herd? How's that similar or dislike the military? How do they relate to each other? Who's the sergeant? Who's the private?
Sure.
Why are they the private? So this, one of the veterans told me that's just completed our pilot program. He said, you know, I got what you guys are doing out here. He said, you know, we get out here, we work with the horses. This is not a riding program.
Yeah, that's key. And it surprised me when you first told me that, when we chatted on the phone.
Right.
And I thought that's what this was about. But it's not. And to me, that's very important because it focuses the light on a whole different element of working with animals like that.
Well, one thing I can tell you is so far, and like I said, we've just completed a small pilot program. We're very happy with the results, is that we need to be observant. And that's one thing we've found we've worked with a lot of other populations in the program in, shall I say, our personal growth, human development part of the program. Veterans come back, they are very observant. So they're an amazing community to work with because they get these, horses are nonverbal communicators.
Sure.
So body language is key. And that's, well, a lot of them will say that's what got me back here. It's also what's causing problems. The hypervigilance.
Right. You're always on.
You're always on.
Sure.
And so I never know when we step out there, and that's the part of it that I think feels so clean. This isn't a program we're doing to veterans. It's for them. Right. And they've helped. We've had many hours conversation. What do you need? What do you think about? The copy I sent you is, honestly, is this a turn on? Is it a turn off? Help us understand. We know how to do the work, but you make it yours. They named the program.
Yeah.
Veterans named the program.
Yeah. You mentioned that this is a pilot program, and when we first chatted, there were still even some questions. It's been probably a good month, maybe 6 weeks, since we first kind of chatted about doing this, and today, when you've come in, because you're still kind of answering, you know, questions about this, and there's enough there. But I find it interesting. You were telling me before we started the show, if we could tell the listeners a little bit about this. It's not really a referral program. People aren't really coming. It's taken off word of mouth. Folks listening or watching the program that we're doing right now can become involved. It doesn't have to come from a doctor or anything like that. Yeah.
No.
They can call you and find out more.
They can call us. We'll give you information, I think, probably at the end of the show.
Yeah.
And this is self-motivational. I think there's a lot of amazing programs going on through our VA. We just want to augment that. If other programs, other things are not working, this might be something for family members to encourage. It's very different than sitting in an office.
Yeah.
It's active, it's moving, it's out in nature. I think the horses can be a very calming factor, or they can be big triggers.
Yeah.
We've had discussions. I'm always amazed because we never know. I think that's the integrity in the work that I like so much. Dr. Peggy Nattiello, who co-facilitates with myself, we show up and we all kind of grab hands with the veterans and the horses, and we jump over the cliff because we never quite know. We had a discussion with the veterans about that they just kind of organically evolved into anger and coping with anger. And all at once, we had 5 or 6 horses in the arena that lived together. and have known each other forever. And they had the darndest fight that really escalated. You know, 1,200-pound animals fighting is dramatic.
Right.
And it was perfect. And the guys looked at which horse they wanted to emulate. One of them said, I want the old timer. He just kind of removed himself from all this drama and is observing. So as difficult as it is to describe this, that's kind of how it works, and I never can really explain it with not either sounding too clinical or a little delusional.
I think the description you just gave is spot on.
Yeah.
I think it's absolutely perfect and illustrates very well what this program is about. Andrea, we need to take a short break, but we'll have plenty more when we come back. Andrea Baldwin is the director of Connections Equine Therapy. 639-0791 is the phone number. We'll repeat it before we wrap up the show. We'll be back right after this.
Having a fire escape plan is very important to keep your family safe and together in the event of a fire. When you awake to the sound of a smoke detector and smoke in your room, don't stand straight up. Carefully roll off your bed and stay low under the smoke. If your door is shut, feel the door with the back of your hand. Slowly open the door if no heat is felt. Always stay low until you get to the outside of your home. Always have two ways out of your house and a specified meeting place somewhere outside your home. Home escape plans should be drawn up and rehearsed on a regular basis. This could be the difference between life and death if caught in a fire.
Wow, these are really good.
You act surprised. Practice makes perfect.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
So, I got this new family, and I don't know what it is about this one, but she can't seem to put down that toy all day long. Tap, 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 tap. Oh, and she even talks to it. She talks to that more than she talks to him. What's up, bro? Nice shirt. Who's she talking to? Her mom? She talks to her mom a lot.
Welcome back to the program. Again, it is countywide. Andrea Baldwin, the director of the Connections Equine Therapy. 639-0791 is the phone number, and connections@comspeed.net is the email. And there's a number of ways, but let me give you just a for instance. Say I don't, but if I had a brother, say, who had served and was just coming back and was just having a little difficulty kind of getting reintegrated, getting back into the normal, if there is anything such thing as normal, but just, non-combat zone, coming back. And I call and say, Andrea, I think my brother could benefit from this program. Where do we go from there? Does he just come out to the ranch, or?
Well, I think the best thing to do is I like to talk to the individual. The family can kind of give me leads. There's no rigid set rules. The only thing we do is because we are providing programs that we're very conscious of all the HIPAA laws.
Yeah.
We need people to make appointments and not just show up.
Sure.
So I think the first thing would be to ask if the returning veteran, or we've also had Vietnam vets.
Okay.
Sometimes they need the same support.
Right.
So this isn't limited in any way.
Okay.
If they would like to come out and meet with the program, one of the things we're really working with is getting veterans that have been through this program. We have a veteran right now who really is working with us on a mentoring program.
Great.
Because they really understand one another.
You bet.
And so to maybe meet with him, talk to me on the phone is another option. And I think that this first contact can take many directions.
You bet.
It can be a introduction to what we do, come out and visit, or it can be a meet with our veteran that's been through the pilot program, which now we're moving in. We feel we're pretty completed with our pilot, and now this is going to be an ongoing program for our community here.
Terrific.
So there would be the initial contact by the veteran or his family, being sensitive to what they feel would create the most comfort level.
Sure.
And then, honestly, I hate to say, but if they do decide they want to in the program, there's the paperwork thing,
Yeah.
but we try to make that as painless as possible.
Got to be a little of that.
There, absolutely.
Once we get through that, you mentioned, and I'm sorry to kind of nudge you along, but our time's going to run short. Once we do that, you mentioned this isn't about riding the horses.
Mm-hmm.
What is it about? What are the guys? I keep saying guys, but what do the fellows,
Okay, yeah, we're going to have to work
do?
with you on that.
I know, I'm sorry. What do the veterans do?
All you ladies out there.
When they come out? What happens on the day they're there?
Without making it very sterile, is there's certain tasks that we may ask them to do with horses. We've done things like ask them to build an area. We have a lot of poles and barrels and all kinds of things in the arena. Build an area that represents an area that you one time in your life in the military had to defend.
Okay.
And then we may give you a bucket full of carrots that our horses absolutely know that bucket.
The carrot bucket's coming.
Defend it.
Oh, is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, set
So
your boundaries. How do you establish boundaries?
And these big animals are going to be coming, knowing what's in that bucket.
How do you establish the boundaries when you were in the military?
Okay.
And then through our conversations, what boundaries are they working on now in civilian life?
Right.
Could be, how are you going to structure the boundaries in your family? How is a mother going to reintegrate into co-parenting?
Right.
And how are children going to adapt to that? How are fathers going to reintegrate with their wives who've done it on their own for a long time into co-parenting again? So again, that's not always that structured, but if we're kind of not moving anywhere, that might be a piece. If we see, and we've heard in the conversations prior to starting that that's a struggle.
Right.
Sometimes it's absolutely free form of, why did you pick this horse? Why do you think, which horse picked you?
Yeah.
I have to briefly tell you that we had a veteran that was an amputee, which one horse that he was attracted to walked right over to him and immediately put his nose on his prosthesis.
You're picked. You're chosen.
You're picked. And this little horse is our 29-year-old, and he had an injury that no longer causes him pain, but he has a short step.
Wow.
So that kind of thing I can't explain.
You're making, something's going on there.
Something goes on.
Andrea, I hate to interrupt this conversation. I know our listeners are going to be as compelled as I am sitting here listening to you, but we do have to pause for just a short break. A terrific program out of the pilot stage and working, it sounds like wonders for the gentleman you just mentioned, certainly at least. Andrea Baldwin, Connections Equine Therapy. We'll take a short break. We'll be back right after this.
I got no pulse, so losing. Shocking. Drives it road all the time. Just had a few drinks. Just can't be happening.
Are we clear?
Clear. We just buzzed. Just buzzed? You didn't tell us that, sir. You're right. This isn't happening. He'll be fine. I feel good. Really? No, not really.
Buzz driving.
Clear.
Maybe we should stop acting like it's no big deal.
Shocking.
Body language can tell you all sorts of things. Like someone is having a stroke. Know the sudden signs. Learn fast. Face drooping, arm weakness, speech difficulty. Time to call 911 and get them to a hospital immediately. Learn the body language and spot a stroke fast.
Fire can happen at any time. What would you try to save?
My family photos.
My grandfather's war memorabilia.
My dogs.
I'm firefighter Brandon Wacker with the Cotton Fire Department. A working smoke detector is your best defense in the event of a fire. Make sure you have a smoke detector in every room except your kitchen. Test them monthly and change the battery once a year. Take the time to save the things you can't replace.
Wow, these are really good.
You act surprised. Practice makes perfect.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
Welcome back to the program. It is Countywide. Andrea Baldwin, Director of Connections Equine Therapy, and very compelling stories that you've told us here so far today, and we wish you great success. Funding, how does that happen? I gotta know. I don't mean to put you in a spot.
But a lot of hand-wringing, a lot of prayers, but actually it's miraculous, honestly, because this program was started by a few people that believe, so it has progressed to on individual donations, private, in-state, out-of-state, and amazing generosity from organizations like the Sedona Community Foundation. This area that we live in is such an amazing area. Yeah. For the individuals and how people step up. We had 7,500 volunteer hours this year in our program.
Wow.
So that's how it goes. A lot of prayer, a lot of hard work, and a lot of organizations that allow us to speak, and hopefully it touches people's hearts. Yeah. And we're still here, and after this economy, that totally is a miracle.
Well, we would hope that that miracle continues. And again, I think if there's one message in our final minute or so that we could leave with folks, it's that to become involved, you know, if you are a veteran and what you've heard sounds interesting, or even if it sounds a little frightening. You know, I mean, it can. You told me off mic that you've had veterans who've come out and who've been very intimidated. Who couldn't be if you're haven't been around horses before, but that for them it's maybe even worked even better.
And if veterans really feel that the downrange program isn't for them, if they are struggling with issues of what we call TBIs, traumatic brain injuries, or amputees, then come to our therapeutic riding program. I promise, it's amazing.
There's other ways to do it. Andrea, we've got to run. I hate to cut you off because you're very interesting to listen to, and the program certainly is exciting in our community. Andrea Baldwin, Connections Equine Therapy. The phone number is 639-0791, and that's connections@comspeed.net. We thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Good to talk to you. It's our program. We'll see you next time. Okay.
This has been Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Listen in each Tuesday and Thursday as we tackle the hot topics and talk to the decision makers across Yavapai County. That's Countywide with Brad Miller and Paul David each Tuesday and Thursday on this Yavapai Broadcasting station.